Hi everybody, this is Maya and it is day 7 of Novel Prep Month, and I am really stretching that by saying it's day 7 because right now it is 11:33 p.m. and I promised myself I would have one video every day during the month of October, and unfortunately I'm having computer problems. So if my audio isn't great, I apologize. I am working on trying to figure out how to sync my little mic that I used during the last video with my video. And once I figure that out, hopefully the quality of these videos will be sky high and amazing. But until then, let's get the disclaimer out of the way. I am not a professional writer. I am just somebody who has failed National Novel Writing Month multiple times. And every time I failed, I learned something new until eventually I had all the skills needed to be able to complete National Novel Writing Month regularly. So this video series is to prepare you for National Novel Writing Month, which starts November 1st. I'm getting really excited. Have you spent the last 2 days looking at your one sentence summary? Are you getting excited? Did you take some time out yesterday and just allow yourself to kick back and daydream and picture your characters? I hope so. Today, what we're going to do is we are going to take that one sentence summary and make it into a one paragraph summary. So instead of having your short elevator pitch, you're going to actually start to expand that. And this is going to take some real work, but honestly, it probably isn't going to take you more than an hour or two. So here's the rules. I want one paragraph, and you can spend two, maybe 3 sentences if I'm being super generous with the setup. So the first sentence or 1 to 3 sentences, you're going to set up who your characters are, what the situation is, and how the story begins. Your next couple sentences, you're going to talk about the middle. What happens during your story? And the last couple sentences, you're going to talk about the end. What happens? How does your story end? Now, one thing that's really helpful is if you try to visualize these 3 parts of the paragraph as your first act, second act, and third act. This really only works if you've ever seen a play or studied Shakespeare in high school, or if you are maybe a more advanced writer and you've taken some time to learn a little bit about structure. But the idea is that you have your beginning of the story, that is your setup. And at the end of that setup, there is a catastrophe. And then you have your act 2, which resolves that catastrophe, has the middle, and ends in another catastrophe. And then act 3 resolves the story. That's in like the most inaccurate nutshell that I could possibly give you in under 1 minute. That's 3 act structure. But what I really want you to focus on is tell your story as if you're telling it to somebody. So, for example, when my children were little, my son, if I asked him, tell me the story of Cinderella, he would sit down and tell me the story of Cinderella. He would say there was once upon a time there was a little girl and she lived in a house with horrible step family, and then they all went to a ball but she wasn't allowed to go, and then she met a fairy godmother who helped her be able to go, and then she met the prince and she ran away, and eventually they lived happily ever after. That is kind of in a nutshell what your one paragraph summary is going to be. It is not going to be like when I asked my daughter to summarize the same story, in which she would say when she was in second grade, there was a girl and she had blonde hair and a blue dress, and she lived in a house and her step family wasn't very nice, and she had to do all the washing, and sometimes she had to clean, and sometimes she had laundry. No, it's not that summary. Okay? So really, you want to boil it down to just one paragraph. So look at your one sentence summary. What that is the core of your story. So now, how does it start? And how does it end? Those are your bookends. And then the middle is going to be really obvious. You're going to say it to the wall or to a teddy bear, or just pull a kid aside and say, hey, I'm going to tell you the story that I'm going to write for National Novel Writing Month, and tell them the story. And you're going to find your beginning and your middle and your end that way, because that is how all human beings think. We all think in beginning, middles, and ends, first act, second act, third act. There's a reason why these rules of threes come so naturally for human beings. So that is your job for the next day. 1 to 2 hours, one paragraph, no more. You may want to rewrite it a couple times. You may find that your sentences, like sometimes when I write my 1 sentence summary, I will find that I write too many sentences and those sentences don't necessarily say enough. And as I rewrite it, I find that I'm able to condense sentences and find better words for things and describe things more vividly. So allow yourself to do that. Don't feel wedded to your 1 paragraph summary, because as we expand that, periodically we're going to go back and revise it again. Now, one thing I want you to think about as you're writing this 1 paragraph summary is I want you to really think about your character. And as you're writing the summary, start to consider how many other characters are you going to need for the story that you are writing, because that's going to be the next step. We're going to start making some people. And to me, that's the most fun part. I like making people out of thin air. So we're going to start that tomorrow. But today, 1 sentence summary. Ciao. See you next time.